on Friday, right around 5 o'clock, I noticed that my phone powered down. I went to plug it in, and when I did, it came up to the startup screen that you get the first time you are getting ready to register a new phone. I tried to start the data recovery process where you can reinstall from a backup. I use iCloud backups, and when I entered my iCloud password, it was wrong. And at that point, I still didn't realize something was wrong. I just thought that there was some sort of software glitch or something, or I was fat fingering my password or something like that. And then I went to plug it into my MacBook, because I also back it up to my MacBook, and I have another backup there. And when I opened my computer, the first thing that happened was an alert popped up from notifying that my Google account password was wrong. About where iCal was trying to look at my Google calendar, and then the screen went gray, and there was this gray screen with 4 little text fields asking me to enter a PIN, and at that point I knew right away that something was really, really wrong. And I just gotten home from work, and so my work bag was right there too, and I just grabbed my iPad out of there and looked at it, and the iPad screen was also on this startup screen, and I immediately thought I was being hacked, and I didn't realize it was an iCloud hack, and so the first thing I did was turn off my internet connection. I hadn't really thought through all the consequences immediately, and the first thing I thought is sort of, how bad is this, and are they in my other accounts? Are they in my online banking? Are they in all these other services that I've got? And I checked Gmail. I went to my neighbor's house because I didn't want to use any computers in my home or any of my other services. If it was coming in through my internet connection, my first thought was that somebody had somehow gotten to my local network. I went to my neighbor's house, borrowed their computer, realized right away that my Google account had been deleted. And they were posting to my Twitter, and I was just the possibilities in my mind were just totally reeling. I immediately started thinking about my online banking and things of that nature, and wondering if someone was in those. I couldn't check those because I use 1Password, and since I use 1Password, I don't actually know any of my passwords. They're all these really complicated, long alphanumerics, and because all my devices were wiped, I couldn't go in and look at what was stored in 1Password. And so I was just absolutely panicking. And then the thing that I really started thinking about while I was on the phone with Apple Tech Support, which is an hour-and-a-half long phone call, was, am I going to be able to get the data back that was on my Mac? Because that was there were all kinds of documents and things that I had there and nowhere else. And more to the point, I mean, the thing that I keep coming back to is there are all these pictures of my daughter and my family, and just pictures of my wife and things that I don't have anywhere else. And I was pretty devastated, thinking that I may have lost those. And I still am devastated thinking that I may have lost them. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get them back yet or not. I was actually pretty jacked up on adrenaline through about right now. Actually, today was the first day when I feel like I've kind of started to come down from all the panic and adrenaline, and I've started really kind of contemplating what's happened. And as I've been doing that, I've been really sad, And so that's been kind of a that's been something that I wouldn't have really thought about so much, I guess, because it makes you just sort of feel like, especially because I wasn't backing up, it makes me feel like a lot of this is stuff that I could have prevented. Stuff that was my fault. I mean, I'm a technology journalist. I've been a technology journalist since the 90s. I mean, I know better than to not be backing up. I know better than to not be backing up. I mean, I was backing up my iPhone, I was backing up my iPad, and I have a desktop computer that I was backing up. But I wasn't backing up my laptop, And I think one of the reasons for that is sort of the way I think about it. I think of my desktop as being the place where I store all my things. But I don't actually, end up transferring all these photos and things that I work on my laptop over to that desktop very often. And the last time I had done it was more than a year ago. And so, that stuff's just gone. Or maybe it's gone. I don't know. We'll find out. Yeah, there were a lot of crazy comments. People blaming me, blaming Apple, blaming each other, blaming, there was a lot of, there was a lot of kind of schadenfreude, type stuff where people were laughing about this happening to me. and calling each other names and threatening each other. It was madness. And I don't know. I mean, given everything that was going on, that never really bothered me because the other problems were so bad that at the time it didn't bother me. Still doesn't really bother me. I locked down the comments, but I wasn't really bothered by them. I don't know why people. I suppose it's sort of, I'm not the first one to make this analogy, but I suppose it's sort of like being a driver in a car, and it's really easy to flip somebody off when you're in a vehicle and you know that they can't get to you. And so I think that there is a little bit of that going on in comments, and people just, I can't explain people. On Friday night, on Friday night, I got in touch with the guy via Twitter, and we started @messaging each other, and then we followed each other. I think he actually @messaged me first initially, and it pretty quickly became apparent that he knew a lot of details about the attack that someone you would have had to have been taking part to know those things. And so then we basically started talking, and I wanted to find out, really how it was done, and he was willing to tell me. It was weird. It was really weird because, of course, I was, of course I was mad, but I also wanted to try and be really rational about it. I wanted to try and understand exactly how this had happened and what the extent of the damage was, and I felt like a better way to approach that than saying, "Oh, you son of a bitch, you just ruined my life," was to try and engage and do it in a dispassionate manner, and that turned out to be pretty effective. It didn't help me very much in terms of getting things back in order because they went to such extremes, nuking all my accounts and deleting everything, that there was not really much order to be restored that they could do. They wiped my MacBook. Even though the wipe didn't finish, it went far enough along that even when Apple reset the pin it won't boot. It's in a non-usable state. So when I talked to the stuff I found out from them was not very useful for getting stuff back, even though he gave me all these temporary account passwords and things like that. It was very useful for understanding what happened, especially because it took a couple of days to sort of extract the level of detail I needed from him for that. At first, he didn't seem to want to contact me via email or other channels, but as time went on, over the weekend, he basically set up a disposable email address, and we were able to, I was able to understand in more detail how he had done this, and then we were able to reproduce those things ourselves, and so that wound up being very helpful. The reasons he gave for doing it were pretty. Are reasons I don't really understand. He said that they saw my Twitter handle. It was a 3-character Twitter handle. It's my first name, and they just wanted it, and so they took it. And I'm not sure about this, but my impression is they were looking at various Twitter handles, and they saw mine, and they saw that it had a domain attached to it. And so when they saw that, they clicked through to my domain name, where they saw my Gmail address on my domain, and they did a whois. And at that point, they were well on their way to having the data they would need to do an attack. And they looked at my Gmail account recovery, and I didn't have two-step authentication set up. And they saw that I had a .me email address as my recovery email, and that he knew this technique to get through Apple's tech support. And so when he saw that, they decided to go for it and take my Twitter. And that was the long and short of it. It wasn't malicious. It wasn't personal. It wasn't, as he said, he didn't have any heat against me. It was just they just did it. I've been super paranoid and stressed out. On Sunday, for example, I sent an email to Apple corporate, basically asking them a long list of questions. And then a few minutes later, I got an alert that popped up on my iPhone that said my iCloud password was wrong, and I completely panicked. And I thought, oh, it's happening again. And I immediately put my phone in airplane mode, and went to log onto iCloud on my wife's computer, and couldn't log on, and was freaking out. And about this time, I use Google Voice, and I start getting a call into the Google Voice account, or I get the Google Voice message actually, and it's from Apple Tech Support, and my case had been escalated, I guess, shortly after I sent this email to Apple Corporate, and they had changed my password, but I was convinced that it was all happening again, and I've just been, I've been really edgy ever since then. Like I've been wary of the emails I'm replying to. I'm paranoid. I mean, I've actually been dealing with this so intensely that I mean, there's so many things to do. Like there's so many things to do. There's so many things to do, and like every day I keep remembering other things that I need to fix, other services that I need to change a password on, other, just other accounts that maybe aren't secure. I mean, aren't vital, but maybe are linked to some other thing. And I just, there's just so much to do that I've actually been intimately tied to my devices since this happened. Although I don't have my laptop, which is sort of my core device, and it's really weird not having that. I hope it's going to result in some policy changes, because I have seen quite a few other people describe something happening to them in a very similar manner, where they're I haven't seen anyone else who's gotten a MacBook wiped, I don't believe, but I have seen people who've had their devices, their iPhones and iPads remotely wiped, that have seemed to trace back to Apple Tech Support. The hackers claim they got the last 4 digits of one of my credit cards via Amazon. And Amazon today changed one of their systems so that you basically can't do that anymore. And so I'm hoping Apple does something similar. Apple Corporate won't confirm with me repeatedly, and despite my continued demands for an explanation, exactly how they said that their policies weren't followed completely. Well, the word completely leaves a lot of room for anything, but it's my understanding from talking to AppleCare told me this on Friday. A very high-level AppleCare person told me this on Saturday, and an AppleCare person who apparently is the only person who has the ability to make any changes to my account right now would not deny this on Sunday, that if you give them your Apple ID, the last 4 digits of a credit card, and a billing address, that's all that a tech support person needs to issue a temporary password. And the last 4 digits of a credit card are so easy to get because they're considered insecure by so many, by credit card companies. I mean, even, if you look at the receipt that you get when after you pay for your meal or get out of a taxi or anything like that, it'll show you the last 4 digits and not the others. And while I can understand that Apple may have, this is my speculation, that they may have been trying to be in compliance with requirements that don't allow for full exposure of credit cards, using those last 4 digits as a means to verify identity was, especially along with things as easy to get as an address or an email address. It just really shocks me. One of the last conversations I had with him before I published Monday, I asked him, do you feel any remorse for this? Do you understand that this is my my little girl whose pictures are maybe gone forever, and I've lost all those, and do you understand why I'd be upset about that, and do you feel any remorse for it? And he said he did. He claims that he's trying to expose Apple's security loopholes, and I don't have any idea. I mean, I can't speak to what his real motives are or aren't, but he did say that he was remorseful, and he related it back to his own life, and said he couldn't imagine how devastating that would be for his parents if they were to lose all the pictures of him, I don't know. I love the internet. It's been a way that I've used to communicate with people and make greater, more profound connections in my life since I was a very young man, and since I was in college. And I have no intention of not being online anymore. I mean, or using internet-connected devices. This has been a wake-up call for me that I need to take security a lot more seriously. I've started doing things like using two-factor authentication on Google, and I've disconnected my devices from the Find My services on iCloud. I've made changes that I think will make me more secure, but I fully intend to embrace the internet and the web and all of its various splendor. If you're a Gmail user, I'd make sure you turn on two-factor authentication. You always hear this, but I would back up your machine as often as possible if it's got any kind of information on it that you don't want to be lost. And for now at least, until Apple has changed something, I wouldn't use Find My Mac, because if it does give someone the ability to remotely wipe your machine without you being able to stop it, that's just going to continue to be a problem.